How's it going, everybody? It's Warren. Welcome back to the Cosmic Wonder, where we talk all things Marvel and everything relating to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Wandavision has been absolutely fantastic. It's been hilarious, and it also gets very dark and very serious at some points. But the best thing about it, which some people may hate, is that it leaves us wanting questions. It leaves us asking what is happening. Now, of course, we're going to get answers, but everything that has happened so far is leading up to something very, very huge. And we think we might have figured out what it could be based off of something that Elizabeth Olsen, who of course plays Wanda, recently said in an interview. If you take what she said in this interview and you combine it with what Paul Bettany said in a different interview, then we can kind of start to figure out what exactly is going on. And as I mentioned, I think we might have figured it out. So let's dive into it. But first, if you're new, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the latest MCU videos. So we all know that WandaVision is going to go into Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, but Kevin Feige, the president of Marvel Studios, also recently revealed that it's going to also connect to Spider-Man 3, which of course has Doctor Strange in it, who will most likely show up in WandaVision. So keep that in mind as we go forward in this video. Now, as I mentioned, Elizabeth Olsen was doing an interview with TV Line, and in this interview she was asked if there is going to be a shocking cameo in WandaVision similar to the appearance of Mark Hamill's Luke Skywalker at the end of The Mandalorian Season 2. And Elizabeth Olsen simply responded with yes. As the interview continued, she said that she was real excited for fans to see what the show had in store for them, and that we're in for some pretty big surprises over the next 5 weeks. And then showrunner Jack Schaefer added, "There are so many surprises left in store. I encourage all fans to settle in because there's more coming." So this is huge. There's going to be a cameo in WandaVision that's going to be as big as Mark Hamill's cameo as Luke Skywalker in The Mandalorian. Just let that sink in for a second. Luke Skywalker, arguably the biggest, if not him, then Darth Vader, but one of the biggest Star Wars characters ever, and one of the original Star Wars characters from the original Star Wars films, made a cameo in The Mandalorian. It was epic. It was absolutely insane, and they're saying that we're going to get something equivalent of that in WandaVision. So who exactly could that be? Well, Paul Bettany recently said in an interview that he's going to work with an actor that he's always wanted to work with. And this may give us a little bit more of a hint as to who exactly is going to be appearing.
I think they're going to be massively surprised by the end of this show. I mean, I really think people are going to be like, oh my God, and they're going to look at the MCU in a whole new light and also have a much deeper understanding about in what direction it's moving. I would also say that, you know, so many things get leaked and people find out about certain things.
Can I just give him a little taste?
I wouldn't say too much.
But there's this thing that's been kept completely under wraps that happens, and I work with this actor that I have always wanted to work with.
Oh!
And we have fireworks together, and the scenes are great, and I think people will be really excited. I've always wanted to work with this guy, and the scenes are pretty intense.
Now let's talk about that first thing that Paul Bettany said in this interview. He said that he thinks that fans are going to be massively surprised by the end of the show, and he really thinks that people are going to be like, oh my gosh. So this backs up the insanely huge Luke Skywalker type of cameo in WandaVision. This isn't just some person we've already seen in the MCU showing up, it's insanely big. But he also said that we're going to look at the MCU in a new light, but also have a much deeper understanding of what direction it's moving. So as I probably put somewhere in the title, I believe that this could be a cameo from Tobey Maguire. I think that we could see Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker appear in the WandaVision series. Remember what I said in the beginning of the video. Kevin Feige confirmed that WandaVision will tie directly into Spider-Man 3. Well, we've had a ton of reports up until this point stating that Tobey Maguire is going to be reprising his role as Peter Parker / Spider-Man in Spider-Man 3. Furthermore, it's been reported that he could also appear in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which again, WandaVision is going to directly lead up to. Now, a cameo from Tobey Maguire is sort of on par with a cameo from Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker, because if you think about it, he's from the beginning. He's kind of an original superhero as far as superhero movies are concerned. At least with Marvel, Spider-Man came out in 2001, and really the only huge superhero movie from Marvel that came out before that was the X-Men in 2000, which I will actually talk about in just a second. But Tobey is an OG. He's the OG Spider-Man, at least as far as movies are concerned, because there were live-action Spider-Man before him, just not in the movies, and not nearly as big as his. But this would be the cameo that would make us all completely lose our minds. We would go insane, and this actually does tie even more into what Paul Bettany was saying. He said that we're going to have a much deeper understanding of what direction it's moving. Well, we already know what direction WandaVision is moving. It's moving towards the multiverse. It's moving towards the multiverse of madness. So we know that at one point or another, the multiverse is going to essentially explode, and chaos is going to happen, and a lot of different multiverses are probably going to collide based off of the title of Doctor Strange 2, Multiverse of Madness. And since WandaVision connects directly into Multiverse of Madness, the multiverse will probably burst into madness during WandaVision, which means we can get a cameo from Tobey Maguire Spider-Man from the Sam Raimi universe. This could be how he appears in Spider-Man 3. This could actually be completely how Spider-Man 3 is set up. And also, side note, awesome little fun fact here, we found out that WandaVision actually takes place before Spider-Man Far From Home, so technically the multiverse is going to burst open before the events of Spider-Man Far From Home take place. And this actually explains a key detail about Spider-Man Far From Home. Mysterio lied and said that he was from another universe. It's now clear that he made up this lie, and S.H.I.E.L.D. believed him because the multiverse was indeed a very big part of what was happening during that time, during the events of Spider-Man Far From Home. Just a little thing that I noticed there. But if all the rumors about Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield appearing in Spider-Man 3 are true, then a cameo as big as Mark Hamill appearing as Luke Skywalker in The Mandalorian could be Tobey Maguire Spider-Man appearing in WandaVision. Now, to play devil's advocate to my own theory, or Mephisto's advocate, since I'm so bent on him appearing, I will say that there are two other insanely huge options that I think could happen as well. And that could be a cameo from Patrick Stewart as Professor Xavier in WandaVision, or Ian McKellen as Magneto in WandaVision. Now, I'm sure some of you remember that it was revealed by Patrick Stewart himself that he recently met with Kevin Feige at Marvel Studios, where he discussed with Kevin Feige plans for Professor Xavier. Now, ultimately, Patrick Stewart ended up saying that if he hadn't had said goodbye to Professor Xavier in Logan, he might be up for reprising the role. But unfortunately, he said goodbye to Professor Xavier. But he said goodbye to Professor Xavier, and he said no to returning as a full-time character. The great thing about the multiverse is that it can be a different version of Professor Xavier, one that had a different fate than the one in Logan. And as I've stated before, if he appears simply as an alternate version of Professor Xavier, this would probably only be for a quick cameo, which wouldn't really require any commitment to Marvel Studios. Just one film that would only take probably only a day or two of filming. It would make the fans go absolutely crazy to see him in the MCU, and it wouldn't offset the death in Logan. And Patrick Stewart is one of the OG superheroes from Marvel as well. The original X-Men film debuted in 2000, and along with Patrick Stewart as Professor Xavier was Ian McKellen debuting as Magneto. Now, for those of you who are big comic fans, you know that at one point in time in the comics, it was said that Magneto was actually the father of Wanda and Pietro. And for a very, very long time, this is what Marvel Comics went with. So, a possible cameo from Ian McKellen as Magneto would definitely be a Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker level cameo, and would certainly fit within the WandaVision story relatively well. Now, just a little bonus thought here, I would love to say there's a possibility of Hugh Jackman's Wolverine appearing, which of course there is a possibility, but I don't think that's the route that Marvel's going to go down. But still, it's possible. Paul Bettany has said that he's wanted to work with this actor for a very long time, and that they clicked together and they worked really well together. Do you think that this is Tobey Maguire, Patrick Stewart, or Ian McKellen, or somebody else? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I'm personally hoping for any one of these three, but I think we would all absolutely freak out if Tobey Maguire Spider-Man showed up in WandaVision. But let me know how you feel in the comments down below. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the latest MCU news. For live updates, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.